Welcome, everyone. I am John Ryan with my good friend and pal Ronald Cabang for the NBA Triple Double Show. This is April the 15th. It's Friday. It's Good Friday. It's Passover. A lot happening this weekend. Easter is on Sunday for those that celebrate that. But equally as important almost, the NBA playoffs begin in earnest on Saturday, being tomorrow. But we have two games to go over today on Friday. And let's get right to it, Ronald. Let's not waste any time here. We'll get right to it. It's the Atlanta Hawks taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Hawks looked quite impressive in their last win. I think every player, Ronald, shot over 50% from the field, except for Trae Young. And rightfully so, the public is enamored with the Hawks in this matchup. They're getting 69% of the bets right now. The line is the Hawks as a road favorite of -2. Game's taking place at 7:30 p.m. tonight, and let's see, what else can I tell you? The total is opened at 225, and it is now dipped to 223. I'll let you take it away here, Ronald, and tell us where you think the betting opportunity is for this matchup.
Yeah, the play-ins they're really tough to cap these games because the implications of these games are so different than they are in the regular season. But through these matchups here between the Hawks and the Cavs, Hawks are 3-1 straight up and against the spread, and the games are went also 3-1 to the over during the regular season. To me, I wanted to focus really primarily on the Hawks team total and also Trae Young, like you mentioned, he kind of struggled in the last game, the last playing game. And but he actually does pretty well against the Cavs throughout the year. The last three matchups, he hit for 35, he hit for 41, and then 30 in the most recent matchup against the Cavs. But that last matchup where he hit 30, he only played 28 minutes because it was a blowout game. Hawks won 131 to 107. Another thing to note, I was looking at the Hawks team total over. Last night I saw it at 111 and a half. I don't know if it's actually changed at this point, but what I was looking at was the Hawks offensive rating is actually 6.4 points better without John Collins in the lineup. And I believe he's confirmed out once again. And on the Cavs side, their defensive rating is 7.6 points worse without Jarrett Allen in the lineup. I know Jarrett Allen's going to be like ready. I feel like what I've read is he's going to try to give it a go and see how he does during the warm-ups. And if he feels okay, he's going to go ahead and play the game. But regardless, it seems like everything that I'm reading, he's not going to be 100%. So he's going to be affected in one way or the other. Obviously you mentioned the public really kind of all over the Hawks at this point. And that's why I kind of sometimes, especially in key games like this, you want to figure out why that is. And that's sort of why I kind of stuck with the team total over and not really focused on the spread here. Because if you look at the Cavs here trend-wise, 5-2-1 against the spread as home dogs in conference games, 29-2 against the spread against conference teams with a winning record.
Wow.
And if you look at that as them as home dogs, they're 5-1-1 against the spread. So there's a few things that point towards the Cavs here when it comes to the spread. I know it's a small line. So that's one thing that, you have a lot of things that go against each other that you want to be like, all right, well, I'll try to focus on a different aspect of this game. And that's where I went with the Hawks team total and Trae Young points over as well. So those are my looks for that game there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a 29-2. Cavaliers are
So
against conference.
29 and two
Oh,
pushes.
oh.
Yeah.
That happens to me a lot too when I do that. I did that to Teddy once on the Waiter Talk Today show. I
Yeah.
said exactly like you did,
Sometimes you want to
and he
like
did
kind of get
exactly
rid of
what
the
I did.
pushes. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's good. I'm looking at some prop bets here early today. Evan Mobley, I like over 18.5. -105 at BetMGM. That's points and assists. Evan Mobley over 18.5. I think that is a good one. And just a slight lean with Darius Garland. I don't like paying the juice, though, of -125, which is at BetMGM. It's also at Caesars, and it's -120 at FanDuel.
Yeah.
His total is 34.5 points and assists. So I'm kind of leaning that way, Ronald, but I'm not going to pay -120 or -125. But I do like Evan Mobley at minus 105, 18.5 points and assists.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to the second game. The second game is the Pelicans on the road, and they too are the team that's not getting any love. They only have 33% of the bets being made on them right now. A little bit higher percentage of the money, however. The Clippers are 67% of the bets. Obviously, they're favored by 4. Despite this lopsided betting flow, which immediately tells me, Ronald, that this is the public betting it because the line has not changed. The Clippers are minus 4. It opened there. It's still 4, despite 67% of the tickets coming in on the Clippers. The over-under hasn't moved either. 216 points. I don't know much of a feel for this game right now, but I'm sure you might have some insight here on this matchup. So take it away and tell us where to put the money.
Yeah, this one is probably this is the harder game here for me to cap because I've talked to a few guys that I really trust in the business about this game last night, and we were kind of on opposite sides here. I do lean towards the Pelicans. I know that during the regular season they took care of the matchup 3-1 straight up against the Clippers here, but there was a lot of implications there. Paul George was out a few games. Powell was out in the last matchup. That the Clippers actually won. But, there's a lot of things, implications that went into those games on why the Pelicans kind of won the first 3 matchups pretty easily. But the Clippers, when Paul George came back, they closed out the season really strong. But to me, when I look at it from a different angle, right, we're looking at him coming back, and they finished, I think, 5-0, 6-0. To close out the season. But if you look at the last 5 games that they won, they beat the Bucks and Suns, but both the Bucks and Suns didn't have their star players in those games. Then they had the Kings and Thunder who basically already quit for the remainder of the season. They were out of the playoffs, basically playing players who were trying to play for roster spots for the next season. They did beat Pelicans within the last 5 games. The Pelicans were to me, they were sort of on a letdown spot after beating the Lakers, because they pretty much put the Lakers out of playoff contention at that point. And they were also on the third game of a 4-game road trip on the West Coast. And I mean, obviously Pelicans are a Western Conference team, but we all know New Orleans really isn't on the western side of the map. So there was travel involved there. That you can look at. Another thing that I was looking at, that was why I was leaning towards the Pelicans. But another thing to look at is the under here. A lot of the trends that I've noticed, through the season have pointed towards the under in this matchup specifically. 1-0, 15-5 to the under as road dogs in conference games for the Pelicans, and then on the Clippers side, 10-2 to the under following a double-digit previous matchup win. Obviously, I mentioned the Clippers beat the Pelicans in one of the last matchups, last games of the season, 119-100. And then a couple of trends to fade the Clippers as well against the spread. 5-15 against the spread when more rested than their opponent. 4-11 against the spread with at least 2 days of rest. Sometimes when we look at the books and how they make these lines, they adjust differently for specific teams. And it looks like that's one thing that they did for the Clippers here with rest, giving them a little bit more cushion there. But obviously this is like I mentioned in the beginning, this is a different implication as far as a one-off game. Winner takes all at this point to make it into the playoffs. So yeah, this one was really tough, but my leans were the Pelicans and the under.
Yeah, I like your breakdown on that, Ronald, quite a bit. I have a few things to add to the under, and they're pretty amazing. And I'll save the best for last. But the Clippers are 28-13-1 under when playing 6 or fewer games in the last 2 weeks. That's 14 days, and that's games played spanning the last 2 seasons. That's pretty good. Then we have the Pelicans 25-8-1 to the under as a road underdog this season. I believe you mentioned that. And 15-1 under as a road underdog of 6 or fewer points this season.
Oh wow,
that's quite
good.
A trend. 15-1 to the under as a modest road underdog. And that's what they are here for sure. So yeah, good stuff on the under. My player prop here also is supporting the under. So we're on the same page here. CJ McCollum under 30.5 at BetMGM. Points and assists, paying minus 110 VIG. I like that one probably better than the other player props I gave out in the Atlanta-Cleveland matchup. So now we're on to the best part of the show. I used to call it the hardest part, and it is difficult to come up with best bets when you have so many choices and options. But what would be your best bet for tonight's action in these playoff games, Ronald?
Yeah, just to recap some of my leans here, the Trey Young over 31.5 points, Hawks team total over 111.5 is the number that I saw last night. Then the lean on the Pelicans and the Pelicans Clippers game under. Those were my leans. I have not placed a bet. I'm transparent there. I haven't placed a bet, but if I were to place one at this moment, um, I would probably go Trey Young over points and also the Pelicans Clippers under.
Yeah, I like that. I like that take quite a bit. Um, Absolutely. So with me, I'm going to do the under we just talked about with that 15-1 angle as a 6-point road underdog are the Pelicans. I like this the feel of this game being pretty darn physical, a little bit slow,
Yeah,
maybe not like playing in the mud type of slow, but just a slower, more deliberate pace.
yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing in this matchup. So I'm gonna use that as a best bet for the show, and then my prop bet. I'm going to go with the other game just to spread it out here a little bit. And these are pizza money bets. So, I mean, you could take all the player props I just said and use them as, $10 bets. If you're betting $100 a game, pizza money, in my eyes, would then be $10, no more than 15 on the player props. So, that one we had CJ McCollum as my top choice, and that is under 30. And what was it? It was right here. It is 30.5 points and assists, minus 110 VIG at BetMGM for my top player prop. And I will be going to the window with those pizza money bets on those player props. And I guess that's about it, Ronald. We got a heck of a weekend coming up, too. We have, of course, I always like talking about the Brooklyn and the Celtics start off Sunday.
Hmm.
And the rumor is that Mr. Ben Simmons will make an appearance possibly before Game 4, but all rumors now are saying that in Game 4, I don't know how they picked Game 4, to be honest with you. Why
Hmm.
not play Sunday and see how it goes? I don't think
Yeah,
another week of training is going to make that much difference, but
yeah,
maybe they're keeping it somewhat a mystery so
yeah.
that Boston can't game plan accordingly, because I
Hmm.
do think that if Simmons averages 20 minutes or more and plays the defense even 90% of what he's capable of doing, Tatum's going to have a nightmare against him. And he's a difference maker on the defensive end. He doesn't even have to score a
Yeah,
point, in my opinion.
yeah.
And we'll just have to see what happens. Do you have any just last minute thoughts about any of the weekend games?
Yeah, for that Celtics Nets game, to me, the status of Robert Williams too is super important for this game for the Celtics. He's a big difference maker on the defensive side of the ball. With him not on the court, it gives the ability for the Nets to really to play pretty flexible with their lineup. As far as having a big, they won't really need to have Drummond in there uh, on the court. That would affect them offensively. um, but I mean, he could also help too. I mean, if the Celtics don't have anyone down low to grab boards, obviously Drummond could take care of the offensive boards and get some easy putbacks. But it gives the Nets really a good opportunity to just change their lineup. They could have Durant at the 5 spot too if they wanted to at that point,
That's
because
right.
they just have a Tease there, and he's not gonna. I mean, I don't think he's a low post presence at all. So, there's a lot to like on the net side. I think there's a reason why they're giving Simmons until the fourth game. I think they feel pretty confident in this matchup, in my opinion. Another thing too is this is even though they do feel confident in this match in this series with the Celtics, I feel like it's telling that they're gonna wait a while because they know this matchup is gonna probably go maybe 6 or 7 games, so they'll have an opportunity throughout the series for him to come back.
Yeah, and real quick, I was thinking of the Sixers and the Raptors
Hmm.
series. It seems like the mainstream pundits seem to think it's going to be a 7 game series. I've been looking at this matchup and I just see Sixers, 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 and I wouldn't be surprised if they win this series in like 5.
Hmm.
I don't see it going 7, and of course I could be wrong. But what kind of series do you think it will be? Do you agree that it'll be quick and over with, and the Sixers win, or
I'm more towards the 7 game series here. I think this is a game where this is a series where the Raptors and the Sixers match up pretty well. Obviously, you have the whole Matisse Thybulle thing where he can't
yeah,
play in
good point.
Toronto, so that's going to affect that as well. The Raptors did take care of the season series, 3-1 straight out, 4-0
Yep.
against the spread. But if you, I mean, it's weird because this is where this kind of I have a question about how the Raptors adjust to this series because in 3 of the games that they played against the Sixers, both Van Vliet and Anunoby didn't play, and obviously when you have a key player like Van Vliet and Anunoby, he's come up pretty well through the system as well. If you have guys like that who weren't in the lineup and then they come in out of nowhere, it kind of affects how you play against a specific team, right? The whole game plan is off a little bit, in my opinion. You're not going to play the same way with Van Vliet and I forgot who the backup point guard is. You know what I mean? So I think that that's one thing that the Raptors might need to adjust to on how they play against the Sixers because they were successful against them throughout the regular season, but now the roster is a little bit different. Even in the first game that they beat the Raptors beat the Sixers, Embiid wasn't playing, so it's a totally different flow of the game that this series is going to have.
Yeah, yeah. Great points. Great points. It'll be fun to watch. That's for sure. It'll be very physical. Of all the series, that one will be very, very physical. And
Yeah.
the referees better strap it on and get control of these guys, or we're gonna have some what's that word? Fisticuffs. And
Fisticuffs.
they really don't like each other, and that makes it actually more entertaining.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, Ronald, that'll conclude today's show. Everybody, make sure you get over to sportsmemo.com. We're both running very hot with the NBA plays and for the season. I'm going to have a 5%er. I'm 6-0 with 5%ers for the season with the NBA. So I've been very fortunate with those. Looking to
Mhm.
go a lucky 7-0 over the weekend. So make sure you get that one. And I guess until Monday will be our next edition of the NBA Triple Double. And we'll have a ton to talk about, Ronald. We will have a ton to talk about and games to preview for next week. Can't wait for that. So until Monday, guys and gals, remember 2 things: bet with your head, not over it, and may all the wins be yours. Have a great Friday.